Mom gives birth. Once doctors saw the baby, it was already too late to take action. Boy, 4, with ballooned head who has been bedridden since birth will finally undergo life-saving brain surgery after Good Samaritan steps in and starts fundraising appeal. Khyng Maza, from Philippines, was shunned by medics as family can't afford help. He has hydrocephalus, which can cause permanent brain damage and death. Boy's father had abandoned him and food seller mother Raisa earns very little. But then a kind-hearted woman visiting the village started a fundraising appeal. Now waiting to have fluid drained from his brain and his skull reconstructed. Brands won't be able to successfully use similar marketing strategies in different countries. Insider. He has hydrocephalus, which left untreated can cause permanent brain damage, blurred vision, difficulty walking, learning disabilities and can even be fatal. The boy's father had abandoned him and Khyng had seen a doctor but his mother could not pay for the medication and operation he desperately needed and his condition worsened. But a kind-hearted woman noticed the boy by chance at his family home in Pangasinan, the Philippines, and started a fundraising appeal for Khyng to be treated. Now Khyng is waiting to have fluid drained from his brain and his skull reconstructed. Khyng Maza, from the Philippines, was shunned by doctors as his family can't afford help. He has hydrocephalus, which can cause permanent brain damage and death if left untreated. Plague ravaging Madagascar will inevitably become resistant. Smokeless tobacco devices are just as bad for the heart as. A quarter of nurses hold down 2 jobs, staff taking on. The likelihood of a baby with eczema developing asthma and. The boy's single mother, Raisa, 26, said, "My son's not strong enough at the moment to have surgery so he has a tube to feed him milk. He has gained weight, he's fighting to get better. He's also taking medication for bed sores on his head because he can't have the surgery until those have been fixed." Khyng, who has an older sister and younger brother, suffered with the condition since he was born but the family kept him at home because they could not afford doctors. The boy's father had left and Raisa's income selling barbecued chicken at the roadside could not support them. Raisa said her son was shunned by medics because of her financial situation. The boy's roadside food seller mother Raisa is single after his father left and earns very little. A kind-hearted woman visiting the village where Khyng lives in Pangasinan and started a fundraising appeal. He has been in bed for 4 years, ever since he was born. We have never had enough money to pay for doctors. They would not help us. Then since last September his head started getting a lot bigger. The child had been doomed until Luisa Carmona saw Khyng while passing through the small village when visiting the area last September. She took the boy to the doctors but they refused help and the condition worsened. A year later, Luisa visited him again and started fundraising to send Khyng for an assessment at the National Children's Hospital in Quezon City. CT scans showed that there was a slim chance of surgery being successful and an operation has been penciled in for January and February once the boy is stronger and his bed sores have cleared up. Khyng may have either a shunt inserted into his brain which drains the fluid through a pipe into another part of his body. The boy is now waiting to have fluid drained from his brain and his skull reconstructed. His mother Raisa said, "My son's not strong enough at the moment to have surgery so he has a tube to feed him milk." Raisa came from a roadside roast chicken sale that he didn't support. Felicidad, Khyng's grandmother, tries to take care of Khyng. Instead, doctors will perform an endoscopic third ventriculostomy, which involves puncturing a hole in the membrane to allow fluid to flow away. The condition was first diagnosed when he was 3 years old, Luisa said. Doctors have not given any final amount yet but the boy needs surgery. Khyng's grandmother, Felicidad, also takes care of him. She said that before help arrived, they were neglected by hospitals because they did not have enough money to pay for treatment. Khyng stayed at home his whole life because the family was not able to go to the hospital for tests. What is hydrocephalus? Many babies born with hydrocephalus, congenital hydrocephalus, have permanent brain damage. This can cause a number of long-term complications, such as learning difficulties, weak speech, memory problems, short attention span, organizational skill problems, vision problems, such as strabismus and low vision, coordination problems, epilepsy. The causes of hydrocephalus are not well understood. Hydrocephalus at birth is thought to be the result of a brain abnormality that limits the flow of cerebrospinal fluid, CSF. Hydrocephalus, which affects adults and children, often results from disease or injury that affects the brain. Hydrocephalus can usually be treated with a shunt, which is a thin tube that is surgically implanted into the brain and drains excess fluid. Endoscopic third ventriculostomy, ETV, can sometimes be used as an alternative to shunt surgery. During this procedure, a hole is made in the floor of the brain to allow trapped CSF to escape to the surface, where it can be absorbed. It's a sad story, but we are now praying that he can survive and slowly recover.